So let's talk about Taurean Prince, the small forward / power forward who came on a bit last year for the Hawks and seemed like a guy who can be a better offensive player than people thought he was going to be. It seemed like the reputation for him entering the league was going to be a defensive player who had to figure it out on offense, and it's kind of been the reverse, where he can go off the bounce, he can actually occasionally hit pull-up jumpers and all that, and he has more of an offensive mindset, whereas you could make the argument that his defense has kind of regressed this season. And there have been some rumors that the Hawks would be willing to trade Taurean Prince, and the thing about Prince is, from a talent standpoint, there's definitely intrigue there, right? But I think the fear with him is that he's too ISO heavy, and he doesn't really know how to play within a team, and it's more that he's just kind of going for his own numbers, and maybe that's not the best thing for this young team. I mean, Kevin Huerter has been coming on lately, and I mean, you could argue that Kevin Huerter is already more exciting than Taurean Prince, because you know that he's going to space the floor out and he's going to make the defense care about him, whereas Taurean Prince, yeah, they're going to care about him too, but he might screw that up with a couple of bad ISOs or over-dribbling occasionally or over-driving or things like that. And that's not to say that Huerter is perfect, because his turnover percentage is neck and neck with Taurean's, except Huerter's usage rate is also lower, so that's not a good sign. But at the same time, I picture Huerter being a quality offensive player because of the floor spacing and being able to move off the ball and catch the ball and then immediately turn in midair and shoot it. And I just think he's going to be a really quality player for a long time. So I'm not as freaked out about that. But given that Taurean Prince likes to dribble, and sometimes likes to dribble too much, and his turnover percentage is where it's at, you know, maybe not the best thing in the world. The on-off numbers would suggest that this team is better without Taurean Prince. And a lot of their winning has come when he has actually not played that much. But I still don't think he's like a bad player. Sure, there's some reason to be concerned about him, but I guess the reason why he's in these trade rumors is because if they decided to keep him, that means they would have to give him some money after next season, I believe it is, in restricted free agency, and perhaps there's a chance that they could just turn a player who they don't love into an asset that they can feel okay about, whether that's a couple of seconds, whether that's some protection on a first-round pick or whatever. Maybe they would just feel better about that. If anything, they could just kind of reset the asset, if you will, where it's like, all right, we didn't totally get the Taurean Prince thing right, so let's go to the next guy. But I also think it's still a little bit of a risk, just because finding guys like Taurean Prince is difficult, right? These tall wings who can defend, well, in theory, defend a few positions and then go off the dribble and make threes. But of course, Taurean Prince is not at that point to where you trust him to do all those things. To be fair, DeAndre Bembry is also that guy from a size standpoint, and he is having his best season. And it seems like he could be a real NBA player now, where his first 2 years, you could have argued, maybe not. I mean, the three was kind of a thing last year, but this season, his all-around game, I think, has improved. He's grabbing boards, he's making plays for others. You know who I kind of see as a bit of a comparison for Bembry is somebody like Garrett Temple, where first couple of years the efficiency is maybe not the best, but you can see that the guy just kind of plays the right way, I guess. Now, sure, the jumper still needs to come along, but the defense is awesome. That is one thing I think I forgot about, and he just seems like a lower usage guy who can fit in, and maybe that's what this team needs more so than Taurean Prince going ISOs and all that stuff. But at the same time, I mean, you can definitely teach a guy like Taurean Prince to bring it back a little bit. But hey, you know, I'm not within the Hawks organization. I'm not seeing Taurean Prince every day. For all I know, they believe that he can't really change who he is, and if that's the case, yeah, I could picture wanting to get something for him, and this team certainly needs stuff. And what's kind of wild is, depending on the type of a move that the Hawks would get if they were to trade Taurean, is that I don't think this team is actually as far away from winning games as perhaps we might expect. I mean, they have been winning a little bit lately, and we'll have to see if they actually want to keep doing that. I mean, they're 4-6 in their last 10, which I think is quite an accomplishment for, how bad they've been to start the season. So who knows, they might end up trading Jeremy Lin, Dwayne Dedmon, all these guys and trying to bottom out, but there have been lineups this year where they've had like Dedmon and Bembry in the game and their defensive rating is like 105. That's good enough to win basketball games. I mean, when Trae Young and Kevin Huerter play together, their offense jumps up quite a bit. There's still a negative net rating, but there are inklings of this team that look like an actual basketball team. So if there was just one other veteran who came in here, whether it's a veteran center or some sort of veteran wing who has a similar role to Taurean but is just more efficient and doesn't force it as much, then that could be huge for this team. Now, whether they actually want that, I don't know. I mean, they just might want a draft pick and call it a day, but yeah, this Hawks thing is pretty interesting. As far as teams that would want Taurean, I mean, I know Philadelphia has talked about him. He definitely shoots more threes than Wilson Chandler, so that's cool. Whether he's a better defender than Chandler or not, I don't know, but also if you put Taurean on a good team and you tell him to play defense, then perhaps he can lock in on that side of the floor. I talked about the Pacers at least thinking about him as another offensive option that can help out Oladipo, especially because Taurean right now is only making like $2 or $3 million, something like that, so he wouldn't be that difficult to obtain. Insert every other team in the NBA. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, if I was a team that just wasn't that good, or hell, if I was a team that was good and just needed a wing player, I would certainly think about Taurean Prince. There's definitely fear that he perhaps can't fit in super well. But, I mean, look at a guy like TJ Warren, right? TJ, he's an ISO guy, but he's found a way to fit in with that Phoenix Suns thing. And while Taurean, I don't think he's as smart or as crafty as TJ, he's certainly better at those things than we thought he was going to be this early, so there's a chance that he could take another jump. But up to this point, it does seem like he is a bit of a not horrible stats, doesn't really help you win kind of guy. And I can't totally fault a team for thinking, I don't know if this guy should really be in our future. So we'll see what happens with Taurean Prince. And that is it. I'm done.